Forever Loved, Forensic Anthropology, and the Global Search for the Missing by Richard Jonathan O. Taduran, Ph.D. Earlier this year, I conducted a lecture for the Commission on Human Rights. The audience, a room full of investigators and directors. The topic, forensic science in the service of justice. But the question that lingered in the room wasn't technical. It was human. What happens when a person disappears and never comes back? This week, that question echoes louder than usual in Australia. It's National Missing Persons Week, and the 2025 theme is Forever Loved. That phrase isn't a slogan. It's a declaration of grief and of love that refuses to forget. Australia holds a special place in my life. I completed my second Ph.D. in Adelaide, where I specialized in craniofacial biology. My path to that point began years earlier in the UK, where I trained in forensic anthropology. At the time, I had two options: specialize in the postcranial or cranial skeleton. I chose the human head, and thus Adelaide. Australia has since become a global model in forensic science. The Body Farm in Sydney allows for real-time decomposition studies under local conditions. At the University of Western Australia, cutting-edge anatomical research continues to refine human identification techniques. My own time in Adelaide exposed me to rigorous interdisciplinary training: evolution, anatomy, physiology, development, reconstruction, epigenetics, forensics, dentistry, neuroscience, an approach still rare in many parts of the world. But all this science, all this innovation, ultimately leads back to a simple truth. Every forensic technique exists because someone is missing and someone else is waiting. The world remembers. Australia isn't alone in remembering its missing. Around the world, entire weeks, vigils, and rituals are devoted to those who never came home. August 30th is recognized by the United Nations as the International Day of the Victims of Enforced Disappearances. In Latin America, families mark the International Week of the Disappeared every May, an echo of the protests led by the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo in Argentina. In Canada, Red Dress Day and Sisters in Spirit vigils honor missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, a human rights tragedy still unfolding. In Mexico, grieving mothers, Madres Buscadoras, search deserts and forests with their bare hands, uncovering clandestine graves in cartel-ridden terrain. In Turkey, survivors of political violence hold remembrance actions for loved ones taken during the 1980s and 90s. These are not just commemorations, they are acts of resistance. I've been part of human identification missions in South America and the Middle East, where disappearances often stem from war, dictatorship, and systemic violence. There are places where the earth still gives up bones decades after the fact. Every recovery, every fragment of identity is a small victory against oblivion. It is a way of saying, you were not erased, you were loved, you are remembered. The Philippine struggle. We in the Philippines are no strangers to the pain of the missing. Natural disasters, typhoons, floods, landslides, earthquakes have claimed thousands. Many victims remain unaccounted for. In the aftermath of Yolanda, families clung not just to memories, but to the hope of one day recovering remains. But the disappearances we must also confront are man-made. The term desaparecido entered our national vocabulary during the Marcos dictatorship, and it persists. American historian Alfred W. McCoy estimated 737 individuals were forcibly disappeared during martial law. Many have never been found. In recent years, new reports have emerged. Activists, students, organizers vanishing under unclear or suspicious circumstances. Organizations like the Peace Advocates for Truth, Healing, and Justice, PATH, continue to uphold the work of memory and advocacy. In To Suffer Thy Comrades, Robert Garcia offers a gripping account of his time as a New People's Army guerrilla in southern Tagalog, focusing on his, and many others, harrowing experiences of interrogation and torture during the anti-infiltration purges of the 1980s. Drawing from Path's efforts and Garcia's own field research, it is estimated that around 2,000 former cadres were killed during this period, with many still unaccounted for. Act of love. Forensic anthropology is often seen as a technical science, a cold calculation of metrics and morphology, but at its core, it is an act of love. We do not exhume bones merely to identify. We do it to give names, to restore dignity, to allow someone somewhere to finally say goodbye. Forensic anthropologists don't just study the dead, we help bring them back. In restoring the human in the remains, we return identity and truth. It is necessary. It is sacred. Every missing person is somebody's someone, a daughter, a mother, a teacher, a friend. They are not statistics. They are stories paused mid-sentence, and every forensic report is an invitation to finish that sentence, to return memory where it was taken. That's why we must do forensics right, because a single mistake can mean denying someone the truth they've waited years to find. That's why this year's theme, Forever Loved, resonates so deeply, because in the end, love is what drives the search. Love is what fuels protest, science, and remembrance. Love is what refuses to let a person be reduced to a file number or case ID. I often end my lectures with this line: faulty forensics is justice frustrated. But perhaps I should add, and for the families of the missing, it is pain prolonged. But when done right, forensics becomes something else entirely. A way back, a name returned, a love remembered.